Okay, so tonight on the podcast, I'm joined by another independent wrestler. Her name is Dahlia Monroe, joining us all the way from the States. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
Thanks
So
for
tell
having
us
me on.
no problem. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Not much to say. End of interview. No.
See you later. Thanks.
Bye. I'm boring. I'm just a young, inspiring professional wrestler. I was an actor, and I decided to drop out of theater school and become a professional wrestler. There's not much to say. I'm based out of Ohio right now, and I'm so thankful to be on your podcast right now. Thanks for inviting me.
No problem. When you first got into wrestling, where were you training and where were you going to? What were your plans into it?
Right. Okay, so I'm going to age myself. In 2011, I had just got out of high school, and I was not a wrestling fan. And I kind of got involved with a local community college. I was looking to get a theater degree. I was actually auditioning for the New York Film Academy, and I got accepted. And as I was just like juggling college, I ended up coming across professional wrestling and never heard of it, never was interested in it, actually. So when I got involved, I was just a valet, a manager, and I did that from 11 to 15. And then I decided, you know what, I genuinely love the business. I fell in love with it, and I respect it. And how cool would it be to be more than just the manager? And I was like, I want to get in the ring, and I want to do this. So I had a mentor named Bobby Blaze, and I ended up getting connected with Funaki, and I had to go from, at the time, I was based out of Kentucky, and I had to drive like 21 hours to Texas, to San Antonio, and I started training under Funaki, and then I ended up linking up like 6 months later with Rikishi, and then I moved to LA, and there's a whole story about being homeless, but that's initially how I got involved with professional wrestling. I was just a theater kid, and I linked up with different trainers.
And what was it like training with people like experienced people like Rikishi and Funaki?
Really, really good. Like, if you want to do something, what do you want to do? You want to train, you want to immerse in it. You just don't want to be bad at it. So what better way to become a professional wrestler than train with people that actually made a career out of this business? Like, what better way to they know their shit. They know what they're doing clearly, since they not only got famous, successful, like they know what they're talking about, as opposed to if you're on the indies. Like, one of the bad thing about the indies, and I don't want to be very snooty when I say this, but there's a lot of people that just like go to Hot Topic, get tights, and then go and try to, like, they're wrestling fans, and then they try to do something they saw off of TV, and then they get hurt, and it's a whole thing. So I think if you want to be a professional wrestler, you should invest time and money into training. And a lot of people might be like, well, I don't have any money. It's like, dude, I was homeless, and I put all my money into school. I sacrificed living in an actual house or an apartment, and I slept out of my vehicle. So don't say it's a money thing, because I'm a broke person. Like, I know what it's like to use the bathroom. Like, I quite literally, when I was homeless, had to use the bathroom in cups, like both number 1 and 2 people. Like, so money is not an issue. So if you want to become a professional wrestler, I highly suggest go and train with legit people. So Funaki was my first trainer, and then Rikishi, and they were the best of the best. And I'm so thankful and blessed to have been able to train under them.
I know you said, like, initially you didn't really have an interest in pro wrestling, but
Right.
Upon looking at it now, who would be your influences to get into wrestling?
Well, okay, so when I first got involved, I did a lot of research, and I was like, okay, what is professional wrestling? What is a valet? Like, because I don't mean to sound ignorant, but the only valet I've ever heard of is people parking cars. So I was like, why would I want to park? When it was addressed to me, it was another valet, and she was my friend, and she got me involved, and she's like, you should be a valet. And I'm like, why would I want to park cars? I'm an actor. I'm a theater kid. Why would I want to do that? And so I felt so ignorant, but so I did research, and the first thing that popped up was, like, on Google was like Miss Elizabeth Macho Man, and I fell in love with the theatrics of that. So those were my inspirations, like Scary Sherry. Like, I if you pay attention to my little indie stuff I did in the beginning. I did like a more quiet heel version of Miss Elizabeth, but then I found my voice and I ended up doing a Scary Sherry, like just over the top, like intense and annoying. And those were two of my idols as a manager. And then also like the mic skills of like Paul Heyman was definitely a thing. Yeah. I really, really love the art of promos and the art of like just like people just being able to just bring their gimmick to life. Like as a wrestler, you're larger than life, and I love those larger than life characters. So nowadays, as a wrestler, I love Natalya. I'm a huge mark for her. It'd be so cool to like wrestle with her and Becky. Like, I mean, she had an insane story. I don't know if she got injured, but she was out of the bit. Like, she went and trained like. She went on the Indies and was like in Japan with Natalya during that time, and when they both were over there, and then when Natalya went to WWE, I think Becky like either stepped away from wrestling or was injured, and that girl was out for like 7 years, and then she came back and made such a big impact. And I just I value the women's roster right now, and I really think it's cool because when I got involved with the business and I wanted to study the art of it, of course you click on the TV and you go to WWE and watch. And unfortunately in 2011 they were like still, I know it's a skit, but they still were body shaming and fat shaming like each other in a storyline, and that didn't make me feel good. And I remember being a manager for so long on the Indies because I felt like you could do more unfortunately in 2011, 12, 13, I felt like you could do more as a manager, as a female, as opposed to as a female wrestler, because all I saw on TV, like their entrances were longer than their matches. And everyone made comments back then that female matches are bathroom breaks. Female matches are just tits and ass if you want to see that. And which is nothing wrong with a sexual gimmick. Like I think sex sells and it's beautiful, but if that's all that it is, it sucks. And being a young like teenager getting involved with the business, like that's all I saw before the women's revolution. And I would see that on TV and just be like, a manager sounds like there's more that I could input. And then now, of course, females are being taken more seriously, and we're actually able to get in the action and be considered professional wrestlers, and as opposed to just eye candy. And it's so badass, and I love it. And so the whole female roster from the very bottom to the very top, AEW, everything. I idolize every single one of them.
Yeah, Becky, like obviously I'm from Ireland, and Becky is like our pride and joy now at the moment. And Becky and so Finn and Sheamus.
So that's your accent, you don't mind me asking?
Yeah.
Okay. Do I expose myself? Okay, we're recording. I thought you were like English. Like, is that ignorant of me?
It's not ignorant. It's just disappointing for me.
Oh well, I don't.
I'm only joking.
Well, I don't. I like honestly, like as an ignorant, I keep on using that word, as a naive American, you guys, I put you in the same bucket.
Yeah, well, we've got some of the big sports stars in the world now, like with Becky and Finn Balor and Sheamus, and obviously Conor McGregor is from here as well.
I was going to suggest the MMA fighter. Yeah. I love how cocky that guy is. I love that, even if it's just a gimmick and a persona. Like I just love, like, he walks with like his dick. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I'm walking like this. It's like, hey, I'm here, and I could fuck your bitch if I wanted to. You know, I love that. Even if it's fake, I love it.
I think it's only a matter of time before we see him in WWE.
Of course. Like, and I don't know why people think that's a bad thing. Like, a lot of people, like, it's as if people have to decide like which one they want, MMA or like, oh my gosh, dude. As
the MMA crowd like do not like wrestling, but wrestling crowds like MMA, but MMA shit on wrestling kind of.
I have dealt with shit like this my whole life, whether it was just as a little teeny, like as a teenager, like what was the basic stuff as a teenager? Like, people were like fan bases, like Harry Potter versus Twilight or something. It's like, why not like both? I love both books and both movies. So now as an adult and in the world of professional wrestling, it's like a dick measuring contest. It's like, oh, well, I'm an MMA fighter and I watch it and yeah, and it's like, dude, that doesn't mean you have a big penis. It's like you can like both and respect both, or not understand the other, but don't. It's it's two different things. Like you got it's meat and potatoes, you know, like it's both one amazing athletic experience. And then of course with the MMA marks, they are hell-bent on not saying that it's staged. Like it's like, dude, you know how much money those guys are making? Like some of it could be your work, honey. I hate to bust your bubble. And then some of the MMA people will be like, you know, calling wrestling what it is instead of sports entertainment or stunt work, which we were discussing my injury before I came on, and you can't disrespect professional wrestling and not credit us for being the athletes that we are, because with MMA, you guys train for like 3 months for one match, and that's your year. And then us as professional wrestlers, especially on the indies or even on the main level, we are destroying our bodies 24/7, basically every
300 days a year usually.
Yeah, and people do not even take that as account, and they accuse of the ring of being like a trampoline. It's like, take a bump, honey. That's not a trampoline. It's wood and metal. But
I think Brock broke down a lot of barriers though from the MMA to wrestling, which was good in a way.
He's such a badass. Like, dude, like I have never seen someone so well, I've never seen him in person, but from the photos, like his stomach is so thick and solid. It's like, wow, could you imagine being in that good of shape? And like, I wouldn't want to mess with him. Like if he was like, let's just say I would be his bitch. Like you can't say no to him. It's like, yes, sir.
Yourself and Nate seem to have like kind of a horror gimmick. Do you guys plan on working together in the future in the business, kind of maybe as a tag team or? Yeah,
it's a good question. So Nathaniel, he goes by Evil Nate, and so when I was training under Rikishi, Rikishi's all about gimmick, obviously, right?
Yeah.
So when he pulled us aside, at the time, I was Nathaniel's valet, and I did like a Miss Elizabeth type gimmick to his Macho Man, because I don't know if you've seen his promos, but Nathaniel, literally, I dare say he's the best promo on the indies. Like he literally, I can see that guy on TV cutting a promo. He is phenomenal. So he would do like a Macho Man style gimmick, but it was like a rock star. And I was like a Miss Elizabeth, like a fangirl, but his woman. So I was his valet. So when I was training under Rikishi pulled us aside and was talking about gimmicks, and we pitched him the idea of this. And this was back in 16-17, before I was injured. And we pitched him the idea of, so we're horror film fans, and we have this idea of a Leatherface style gimmick. And basically the way that we came up with it, Nathaniel, he is from the South. He has a complete Southern accent. So he's like, okay, what's the best gimmick to do? And he thought of like, you take the hillbilly gimmick, you take a Texas Chainsaw Massacre gimmick, and then you take like an Ed Gein, which inspired the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but you take this guy skinning people. So mix Ed Gein, mix Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and mix like his hillbilly heritage, and that's virtually the gimmick he's doing. And I like that, but where I'm not from the South, and I mean, I would be horrible at faking a Southern accent, but I'm doing my Black Dahlia gimmick, which I've had since 2011. And so I'm like the murder victim on top of this. And basically our gimmick is we're urban legends, and we're out there killing other urban legends, from extraterrestrials to serial killers. We got like the human flesh, and then we actually have in the works, and I guess I can tell you because it's almost here. No one knows this, but our next one is Bigfoot. I have a skinned Bigfoot vest and luchador style mask that's actually on its way from Florida right now. So it's pretty intense. But yeah, so to answer your question, that's kind of like our gimmick. Like it is a horror type. And then as for Nathaniel and I, yeah, I think he's my best friend. A lot of people think we're brother and sister. A lot of people think we're like, I guess because he has a penis and I have a vagina, everyone thinks we're fucking. But
yeah.
So no, he's my best friend, and I absolutely adore him. And we've had such a long, nearly 10-year history in the wrestling business together. Me as his valet, then us training. Because when I say I slept out of my vehicle to train under Rikishi, he was there too. He also used the bathroom in cups. He also slept out of his vehicle during the daytime with me, and so he's been there since day one. He's such a good guy. So with our gimmicks being the same, yeah. So I think we will do like a tag team. Like we'll go against. I think it's cool because as a guy and girl, we can go against. Like you can have 2 girls against us or 2 guys against us. There will be couples that go against us. There will be he could be my manager, I could be his valet, or just go at it individually. I feel like there's a lot of marketing we can do and a lot of possible money we can make by working together like that. So yeah, I think all of that.
So we touched on earlier your injury and how it kind of set you back in your career. Where are you at now in terms of getting yourself back on track and getting in the ring?
Right. Okay. So, just to recap, when in 2017, when I was training under Rikishi, I had this thing in my feet called plantar fasciitis. Like, have you heard of it? Like, it's kind of like, believe it or not, it's more common than you would think. Like, a lot of people have seemed to, whenever I mention this in interviews or just in general talk, everyone seems to be like, oh yeah, I have a cousin that had that. Basically, it's just on the bottom of my feet, my muscles swell and like the inside of my feet. So when I was training under Rikishi, it got really bad, and I ended up, as I was in the ring, I tore both ligaments, and because of the swelling. And so this summer will make 4 years actually that I have been injured and out, and it's like very, very like it mentally messes with me. Unfortunately, It's very sad what I went through, because I didn't just get injured, have surgery, and then all of a sudden I'm back in a year, or I didn't get injured and have a safe place to go to. Like I literally went to my mom's summer house in Indiana, and I had no internet, no TV, no cell service, and I literally for at least 2 years, and I was in a wheelchair, and I wasn't allowed to walk or stand in a shower and bathe myself. So for 2 years, I literally was like staring at walls, and I was like, will I ever walk again? Like it was a very mental health like check, if you will. Like it was a lot. My mind played a lot of games on me, and a lot of bad things like went through my mind during that time. So now that I went through 2 years in a wheelchair and then another year to teach myself how to walk, this past year I started losing. I put on weight when I was in the wheelchair, so I started losing the weight that I put on during my injury. And now now that I've lost the majority of that weight, I want to get in. I just got medically cleared actually. Right before the holidays, I got medically cleared to start weightlifting, and I actually ended up getting COVID-19. And I battled it for like 2 months. It was really bad. And then now that I'm able to start bodybuilding again, I'm focusing on jogging, because I taught myself how to walk, but now I need to teach myself how to run properly. So I'm running, weightlifting, and trying to get there's a difference between aesthetically pleasing in shape and then in ring shape. So I'm hoping on my 4-year anniversary of my injury this summer, I will be medically cleared to wrestle.
Yeah. So you've really come full circle in your career anyway, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Definitely. It's been a hell of a ride, and it's just the beginning. I'm literally just, even though I've been in the business for 10 years, I am about to start my career as a professional wrestler.
I look forward to seeing you in the ring, and it's been a pleasure to catch up with you.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks for having me on.